this is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. I have another exciting episode for you today, and today is the last day, and you're getting an inside peek because this is actually before they open, before it gets really super crowded in here, and I can't make any more videos for you guys. We're at the 2012 National Heirloom Exposition, and where we're at today is the Hall of Flowers. This is a huge giant hall, and they literally have thousands of varieties of heirloom crops on display here to show you guys what is available and what is totally possible in growing. And in this episode, we're gonna look around some of the cool booths here in this hall. And one of the coolest displays in this hall actually is here. This is actually from Log House Plants. And this actually shows you a lot of non-edible, once again, non-edible varieties of cucumbers or gherkins, which are like the wild relative of what we know as the cucumber today. There are a few edibles, but these are mostly non-edibles. But I wanna show you guys this because it just shows you in a small amount of space in a trellis, you can grow a lot of fruit for eating or just for fun. So let me go ahead and give you guys a close-up on that, and we'll talk more about these wild cucumbers next. So here's just like a little container garden here, literally. It's made out of metal, and they put some moss in there. You could also use some coconut coir to line it, and they put some, of course, good soil. Soil is the #1 key to growing some healthy plants, and this guy's actually called the ornamental cucumber. So these are not edible. They may be and probably are poisonous, but this is like little cucumber-like leaves, and this is just a little small trellis, maybe about 4 feet tall. And this container here that it's in, it might be like 3 feet, if that, by about 8 inches, wide, and maybe, I don't know, 10 inches deep. So even in a small space with a nice little bamboo trellis, look at all these fruits growing, and check out these guys, man. These guys are little wild little things. That's the size of my hand, and that's the fruit there. Once again, these are ornamental, not for eating. But the next ones are for eating, and here's once again another little container. And if you have a balcony or patio and you get some pretty good sun, you could have a little container like this and put up a little trellis and grow some of these smallerish type cucumbers. They're gonna do really well in a nice, simple, lightweight trellis, and it's going to produce a lot of fruit. I mean, look at all these fruits in here. These are just off a couple plants here. These are amazing producers, and these ones are edible. So this is one of my favorite varieties of the gherkins to grow. This is a West Indy gherkin, and this is actually a special variety I haven't seen before. So if you have the seeds, hey, send them to me. This is called the Liso Calcutta cucumber. And this is a special variety of the West Indy gherkin variety with slightly larger fruits and smoother skin. So I have grown the standard West Indy burr gherkin before, but these guys significantly larger than the ones I've grown. And some of these, while they are quite spiky, some of them are not, like this one right here, not too spiky. But once again, growing up a trellis, and wow, they look totally amazing. And here's a whole bunch at the bottom. So these ones are edible, and I have noticed when I did grow the burr gherkins last year that they're a little more resistant to the powdery mildew and really fast growers compared to my standard cucumbers. So I always want to encourage you guys to grow different varieties because they may do better or worse. Plus, to me, these guys have the most amazing flavor in a cucumber. If you don't harvest them just right, they do get bitter on you, so you do have to be aware that, that trait has been bred out of many of the common cucumbers that people are growing today. So the next one here is definitely another edible too, and I've read a lot about this and seen it in the seed catalogs, but never actually have grown them out yet. This is actually called the Sikkim cucumber. There's a little tag, and this one is also edible, and this one doesn't look like it did as well as some of those other ones there, but this one kind of almost looks like a little melon on the vine. But yes, this is a cucumber, and that's how they do look. Looks pretty cool, and I have no idea how these taste, so one of these days I'm gonna have to try to grow these guys. But seeds are widely available for this guy. Once again, this is just how small these boxes are, just like that. And I mean, they got these little bamboo trellises, look really good. Next over on this side, this one's pretty wild, man. I just love how some of these fruits look. This is a non-edible, so don't try to eat this one. This is actually called the African wild cucumber. This is actually a non-edible, and these are actually better than gourds for drying. So these would make an amazing artwork display or display for the winter time. Once again, these are just for, decorative purposes. They're little fruits, they're not even painted. I mean, this is how they are naturally with little spines on them. And check it out, all in this little trellis. You can see all the little fruits there. and it's even, the plant's still flowering. There's the flowers right there. Definitely really cool. When they're immature, they're just little small green babies, and this one's still producing really good. We're gonna go to the next one, and this is once again another non-edible. This is a ornamental cucumber, or called a patty melon, also known as the gooseberry gourd. Once again, nice little round non-edible fruit, really decorative with some little spines on them. And once again, this plant's looking like it's doing pretty good. And man, this is definitely a curiosity piece. People ask you what that is, and if you have a community garden, people are eating your food, hey, plant some of these guys and they'll probably stay away. Last one we're gonna talk about is one that I have grown before, and it's actually very prolific, and I'd highly encourage you guys to grow this in your garden next year if you're not growing it already. These guys are super cool. These are edible, and this is actually called the Mexican sour gherkin. So you can see this plant is very prolific, it just sends out lots of leaves. In addition to the leaves, it's also producing lots of little fruits. And let's see if we can find a little fruit there. And there it is right there, and if we can see there, I mean, that's the size of my middle finger and the little fruit, so they're quite small, and they look like a little miniature watermelon. And these are the sour gherkins. And for these guys, I found for best results, you know, if you see them on there and you're like, oh, John, yeah, that looks ripe, and you pull it off and eat it, it's gonna be sour on you. These are gonna taste like pickles without even you pickling them. But guess what? Is it ripe if you pull something off the vine or plant? No. But when the plant gives it to you, then it's ripe. So what you wanna do instead of pulling it off is you wanna like look down at the base and, you know, near the bottom of the plant, and you wanna go down here and see if any things have dropped off. I found that once these little guys drop off the vine or sitting on the ground maybe for a day or two, then actually they get quite sweet and they have an amazing flavor. So, you know, if you do grow the Mexican sour gherkins, they're only sour if you pick them off the vine. If you do let them drop and ripen, they're actually tad bit sweet and actually quite good. So I know what you guys might be wondering, John, I want to grow some of those things out, man, but I went to my local big box, my local hardware store. They don't have none of these varieties. Where do you get them? Well, there's a very good place to buy all these varieties of these wild and edible cucumbers, and the one I would go to is called rareseeds.com. It's a Baker Creek seed company, and they have many of the varieties that you just saw right here, and be able to grow them out, and so you could try them next year in your garden. Now we're going to show you guys a really cool booth here. This is the booth of Tortuga Garden Designs, and what they have is a way you can grow food vertically on a wall, whether you've got an apartment, condo, or house, or even a fence you want to start growing on. They got a really cool system that will allow you to do that. So let's head over there in the background, show you guys what specifically they're doing. I'm gonna show you guys this booth, and as you can see, what we're looking at is gutters, like rain gutters, galvanized rain gutters, hooked up to a 1x6, and you can see just section of rain gutter with the ends on it, and all they're doing there is attaching the rain gutter to the 1x6, and then they're just planting in it. It's very simple. Plants don't need a lot of soil, especially things like herbs and some lettuces. And you could easily build something like this, you know, put it on 1x6, and then actually they just put these little hangers there to hang it up with some nails that'll hold this up to your wall. So whether you want to put this on the side of a fence or on the side of your house, I mean, that's how easy it is. It's fairly heavy. You could kind of move it off and lift it off, but 2 nails support this whole thing. Let's take a look and see if they put any holes in the bottom for drainage. Yes, it looks like they popped a few holes in the bottom for drainage, so you will get leakage. Another thing you could do instead of making it straight is put this at an angle and then have a little thing to collect any extra runoff water and then reuse that to water again. So definitely a really smart idea. Now, I wouldn't be growing tomatoes or bell peppers or anything like this, but for small things like lettuces and herbs, this is going to be a great way to grow some food in a small amount of space. And once again, you could get the 1x6s at any hardware store, even big box hardware stores. And while you could use plastic, gutters, I would highly recommend and encourage you guys to use the galvanized. Just use the real metal stuff instead of the PVC or the polyvinyl chloride gutters, which I'm not a big fan of in general. So yes, definitely good idea to grow more food vertically. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode, learning more about those cool, wild, and edible cucumbers. The gherkins, some of my favorites, and I hope that there are more gherkins and edible ones that are discovered in the future that I could grow. I like them a lot more than the cucumbers because they're more of a wild food, they're smaller, they grow more in abundance, and you know, I'm all for, especially home gardeners, growing things like cherry tomatoes, growing things like the small little mini bell peppers, and growing smaller fruits because they tend to yield more larger quantities over a longer period of time than growing like a few big beefsteaks or something. But for commercial growers and people that are farming for a living, they can't really grow these small things because it takes a lot more labor to pick and harvest these things. But when you're at home doing it yourself, it's definitely the way to go because you're also going to have more success with some of the smaller type fruits. And finally, we saw the vertical gardening and the rain gutters. That's definitely a good idea, whether you're using a small section or rain gutter or a big section. Definitely a great way you can grow some more herbs and small leafy crops as well. Hopefully this has inspired you to show you guys what is truly possible, all the different varieties available, and some new ways to grow some food and some new varieties that you can try at home. Once again, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep on growing.